Hi everybody, I'm going to do a video tutorial on this new women's quick wallet template that I put on the website yesterday. This is basically really super easy wallet that you can make. I'm going to do it out of some softer kind of garment weight leathers. It's really made, in my opinion, it's kind of more of just kind of a softer wallet. It's not structured, so if your customer is looking for something more of a traditional structured wallet, this is probably not it. But my idea with this is that this would be a great template or a great wallet for those of you that are just getting started with purses or with wallets and you want to do something quick and easy but yet fun. Should be something that would be able to be sold at a relatively inexpensive price point in comparison to like other wallets that I've got all the interior compartments. So that's kind of the idea here. Is this is just, like I said, super quick, easy wallet. Honestly, the only thing that necessarily will need to be sewn on this is gonna be the zipper pocket. Outside of that, it's just really held with a couple rivets. And then you can sew. I'll show you a section where I think it looks better if you sew it a little bit. But again, you know, it doesn't require it. So if you're a hand sewer, really the only thing you need to sew is sew the zipper in and sew around the edges of the zipper pouch that we're going to put inside of it. So anyway, I'm going to get started. I'm probably going to turn the video off and turn it back on. So do some steps to try to keep the size low of the time frame that that we're videoing, and hopefully my dogs and my phone and my husband don't interrupt too much. So anyway, let's get going. So here's this leather, just came in today, so I figured this would be a good opportunity. I'm going to use this for the flap, and then I got some of this leather. It's the desert, I think it's from Texas Leather Goods, the Mojave, I think. But anyway, it's kind of like got a little bit of a distressed look. I think it's just kind of fun. Hopefully it'll work. We'll see how it goes. So I went ahead and I already pre-cut my main part of my template just to save some time. I did cut, and actually we're gonna put a little bit, we're gonna put a couple of interior card pockets on it. And then, so I cut one of those, I will cut the other one, and then I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna cut the flap. I had thought about kind of really jazzing this up with some like an interior liner and other interior compartments, but I thought for this purpose, let's just kind of keep it as simple as possible. But there's other things that you can do to kind of add a little flair to the inside of this. So anyway, so I've got my design, my template, my main body cut out. Now, if I wanted to do a flap out of the same material, the same leather, then what I could have done is, here's my main template, and here's the attachable flap. It's set up with some hinges or some little grooves that you can pop this in. So if I wanted just to cut one piece, I didn't want to do a separate contrasting flap, I could have put this together and just cut all the way around it and just done one piece, and then I wouldn't have had to even sew this flap. But I wanted a contrasting flap. It's going to kind of look something like this, like the one I made when I was testing it out. So anyway, but I'm going to show you how to kind of a little quick hack on how to do. I want this curve, but I'm going to have it extend a little bit back so I can sew it down like that. So anyway, but first, let's go ahead and what we need to do on this body is we need to mark some fold lines. So that's kind of what those grooves are for in the template. Make sure when you get these, be careful, because I mean, this is 1/8 of an inch acrylic, but I mean, if flexed, they do break. So, and especially when we start adding some stress points with the cutouts, it just makes them a little bit more susceptible. So don't put them on the floor or step on them because they will break. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this lined up as best as I can, as close to what I've already cut out. And when I cut this out, I actually just cut it out along the edge with a box knife, but I just make sure I have a nice sharp blade in it. So that's what I use. I know some people use scalpels and some people use all kinds of knives. For now, I'm kind of rocking the box knife. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take a Sharpie and I'm just gonna draw inside this, the template. And you're gonna have to find a pen that, the grooves are fairly wide, but I didn't wanna make them too wide so that they weren't as accurate, but you're gonna want something that's got a longer tip to it so you can get down within that, in the 1/8 of an inch groove. And we're gonna mark these lines. And what these are gonna be is there's gonna be some fold lines that we're gonna use when we fold up this template, or this leather, so. Okay. So there we go. You can see the lines. All right, so what we're gonna do is basically, I'm gonna fold it in half. And what I want is some nice creases. So actually what we're gonna try to do first, we're gonna try something different first. I'm gonna take, this is another, just a little zero centered ruler that I have that I sell. But anyway, I'm just gonna line that up on that line, and I'm gonna take my bone creaser, and what I'm gonna do is I just wanna kind of run this along this line, that fold line that I've got there. It's just gonna kind of help me get my folds. You want them pretty accurate. Okay, now I'm gonna take hammer and I'm just gonna kind of just pound those down pretty good. So the very first one I made, I didn't do this. And then the third one I made, because I made 3 of these before I got it kind of perfected. The third one I hammered these folds and it worked tons better. So. Okay, so there's that. And we're gonna do the same thing with these vertical folds. Somebody had asked if this would work good for veg tan, and actually I think it probably would work really well because it would probably hold the crease. But once this is put together, I think this will work. So I'm gonna make sure I got it on my line. All right, now what I want to do is I want to take the template on the other side, on the back side, and I'm just going to mark some holes. And those are going to be some rivet holes. And I've got these yellow pencils. And I'm just going to put some little marks on all these little holes. They seem to work better if you kind of wet the tip a little bit. All right, so we got those in there. All right, so that's pretty much all we're gonna do for this piece for now. We're gonna put that aside. Now, what we're gonna do is, let's cut the flap. So, like I said, I'm kinda use part of this main template, but not all of it. So, the nice thing, these templates come with paper backing on them. Make sure that you, I mean, I guess you don't have to, but they're meant to be taken off. I like to take it off because then I can actually see through my, except if I'm using a patterned leather, embossed leather, I can actually see the pattern and center it up how I want it. So, all right, so what I'm gonna do is, I want about 1 inch. This is gonna be the top edge of my wallet, and I just want about 1 inch down is kind of what I did on the other one, and that looked pretty decent. Actually, let's just do 3/4 of an inch. It'll be plenty too. So, so what I'm gonna do is the only thing I'm gonna cut is just around the top of that, the curve. So. Okay, all right, so that's done. And then I'm just gonna take it with a ruler and I'm just gonna extend that all the way down just so I can cut it off this piece of leather here. Okay. So there's my flap, but I'm gonna finish off that edge, and let's just see kind of the nice thing about this pattern is it's got the geometric shape. So we're gonna utilize those lines when we cut off the bottom. I'll make sure it's about as accurate as I can make it. And then from looking at my pattern, I mean, what you could do, make some marks here. Like I said, this is kind of a little bit of a hack because I'm using this particular part, but yet I want it to extend down. So I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is there's a line right across, right about there, which is roughly it's right at 3/4 of an inch from the top edge. So, and I'm just gonna use this piece, this pattern, or this edge rather, to cut it. So, and it was right about there. Okay. All right, so there's my flap. And as you can see, if I line it up here, it's just gonna extend down the back about 3/4 of an inch. So when I get ready to sew it onto here, I'm gonna sew it about like that. All right, so also what I'm gonna do while I've got this out is I'm just gonna go ahead and mark on this piece my hole for my snap. Right there. All right. Okay, so for now we're done with these two. I'm gonna put those aside. And that's this. Now I'm gonna cut my pocket. Okay, so I just want to explain something about this. Basically, this template is just 1/2 of your pocket. So instead of having to cut the whole thing and ship it and worry about possibly breaking, we are actually going to take it and trace part of it, and then we're going to flip it up. So you'll see on there that it says flip. So just make sure don't cut along this line. And then this one, I'm gonna do this from the back side, because actually on this one I don't want to cut with my template. I'm just gonna trace around it, and then I'm gonna go back and cut. And on this, I don't really care necessarily how centered my pattern is on my inside. That's some things I like about these geometric patterns, but then there's also a lot of waste if you're like super anal and everything has to be centered, kind of like I am sometimes. But okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just trace the bottom part, and then I'm gonna flip it up. But I just wanna make sure when I flip it that I left enough room, because I want right along the edge of my leather here. Okay. And I'm just gonna mark the top just so that I know where I to line it up when I flip it. Okay, so I have that. Now what I need to do is I need to cut my opening for my zipper. And this takes a 5-inch zipper. So all I want to do is I want to just do 2 horizontal lines right through that little cutout, right through here. Again, I'm going to flip it up where I just drew it, line it up, right and left, across the top, make sure it's nice and straight, and draw my other line. And then all I need to do is just connect these two. All right, so this is now the pattern for my zipper pouch. We're gonna go ahead and cut that out. And then so there's my pouch, and I'm gonna cut my opening for my zipper. Now I like to cut out of the corners. I don't cut into a corner, I cut away from a corner. So I'm gonna start at one end and cut away. And then I'm gonna flip it and do the same thing, cut away on the other end until they meet. I find that if I cut, sometimes I cut into the corners, it slips and it goes too deep. I do the same thing when I'm cutting like inlays on nose bands and stuff. I always cut away from the corner. Okay. This is gonna be the pocket for our zipper. Now, this is kind of a personal preference. This particular backside obviously is gray. I don't like necessarily the gray edge, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and paint. I'm gonna put some edge paint on that, just to kind of make it a little nicer. And then I'm gonna go get my zipper, and so I will be right back. So I'm gonna pause it and I'll be back.